Hi, my name is Christine and you are with the Wedding Wednesday report for another week. This week we are looking at another pricing structure, but before we begin we actually have a question from one of my students, Louise. So let's get started with Louise's question. Following on from last week's report, Louise has asked me if to be competitive you need to be the lowest price in the market. This is a good question, but I've got a really simple answer for you. No, you don't. Pricing too low is a recipe for disaster for your business. Consider your own shopping habits. When you go out to buy something, there will be times when you are motivated to buy the cheapest item. But if you're like me, you are also guided to your choices by the levels of pricing. And often I'll find myself buying in the middle range rather than the lowest or the most expensive. So that really tells us that consumers are motivated by a lot of different things when they buy something. Pricing too low is just going to set up this situation where you and your competitor start to undercut one another, and that's not going to do either of you any good in business. You really need to be strong with your pricing and look at what you're offering for your price along with actually what you're charging. So the answer to Louise's question is pricing too low is not a recipe for success. Last week we did share a link for you to a pricing recipe from Sage Wedding Pros, and we'll put that in our description again today so that you can go and have a look and see what the recipe for pricing is, but it's certainly not pricing too low or pricing too high. So let's get to today's pricing structure, percentage of budget. This is actually not a particularly popular pricing structure in Australia, but interestingly, it is the one that I'm asked most often about. It sounds great, doesn't it? Particularly if you've got a wedding client. Their budget keeps going up and so does your income. But in reality, there's very few clients who would feel comfortable with that. And I myself don't feel comfortable with that type of pricing arrangement. I see my role as helping a couple stay within budget or under budget. Anything that attaches my income to their budget really does feel like a conflict of interest to me. But if you are going to choose this pricing structure, the average you would charge would be 10 to 15% of the wedding budget. So for example, if their budget is $50,000 and you choose to charge 10% as a percentage of budget, you will earn $5,000. But again, I don't really see this as a popular pricing structure in Australia. Another reason for that actually is that even a small intimate wedding where the budget might be quite restricted is going to take you a similar amount of time to plan as a large and extravagant wedding or event. So the smaller the budget, the less you earn, but you may have done just the same amount of work. So for both planner and client, this is not the perfect pricing structure, but if you do want to consider it, we've given you some information about it today and what the average that you might charge here in Australia is. Join us again next week when we look at another pricing structure. And if you have a question like Louise did, please feel free to send it in. And whilst you're here, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and stop by Event Experts every day for more news, inspiration and tips from the world of weddings and events. Thanks for joining me and bye for now. No nudity today.
Except for that.
I told you I'd bring it in every week. Where's the sparkle? Where is the sparkle, people? It's hard to bring sparkle into the idea of pricing, but who wants to work for free? Yes. I don't have a recording contract for Xanadu either after last week's effort. No. Okay. That is disappointing. No takers. But I know you're out there. If you want a roller derby wedding, call me. Call me.